Semdol ka ke mo fa seda.
Thank you, everybody, and welcome to Talking in Stations. I'm your host, Rahne, and I'm joined by Nick, who's obviously doing all the engineering and fixing of things that I definitely could not fix. This week is a shorter week. If you are in the United States, this is your warning, your probably final call, that it is Mother's Day, and hopefully you got your mother and or wife and or mother of your child, whichever qualifies for you, hopefully you got them something. Because if you don't, you're going to be in big trouble, usually. That's usually how I hear it, how it goes. So make sure you got your significant other, whomever, your mother, something for Mother's Day. That's why we're having a shorter stream. Obviously, Nick and I have to go out and celebrate. I'm gonna go see my mother. I'm assuming Nick has someone he is going to see, or he's going to use it as the easy excuse to get out of the house. Right, Nick?
I've actually got my oldest daughter informed me I will be there for the Mother's Day at her place. So that's later this afternoon.
Nice. But yeah, so that is why, and we want to let everybody know. News this week was also kind of light. I believe going forward, we're going to do those deep dive interviews that we normally do. We've had some faction warfare news this week. We're not going to touch on it because next week our goal is to actually go into a deep dive of what happened, the wars, the people involved. And so stay tuned for that next week, 1600. I'm assuming we're going to be at 1600. We're almost always here at 1600. But other than that, we can touch on player news, which I think you have pulled up already, Nick. The big one is the community beat for this last Friday. So normally CCP actually shout outs their community members. This time, this entire blog was dedicated to one person. That was Bernie. I don't know if you guys knew Bernie. He flew on my Anger Games team. He was a really good dude. Was in my corp for a while. Was in the PLAT team. And then he was also ISD Dorm. So ISD Dorm did the CCP slow streams. So he would, I think it was like every Tuesday. I want to say it was like Monday or Tuesday. He would log in and just showcase random things around EVE, kind of play around. I don't think he would like interact with anything like within the game. It was mostly just like a slow camera stream, but he would interact with folks in chat doing giveaways. Anyway, the call out for both of them is because when you're an ISD member, you're not allowed to know people aren't allowed to know who your player account is, and he was actually both. And so when news came out of Bernie passing away, CCP also released that ISD Dorm had passed away, and they had confirmed with his real life family members. And so there were a couple memorials over the weekend. I know Friday I did a roam with my corp to kind of give a send off to him. We got hot dropped by Deepwater Hooligans, so shout out to them for us. And then another streamer named Ghosty actually was doing a free for all, like a what is it? Broadcast for Reps free for all, like a memorial free for all for a couple members, and then we also included Bernie in that, so we went and joined there. And then there was a memorial stream yesterday, I believe, at Malia, and then Radicos, who hung out with Bernie a lot in the game throughout various things, usually related to tournaments and or wormholes, gave a Drake roam, which I think is only fitting.
For those folks that haven't visited the Malia Memorial, it's pretty awesome. You might want to check that out.
Yeah. And so he passed away. I don't know any of the details of his death. I know it was rather sudden. I don't think he was like older by any means, where something like a random heart attack could take him. And I don't think he was in negative health. Like I don't think he had cancer or anything. But it was interesting because I had heard he was like literally just practicing with his Alliance tournament team, right? Because the Alliance tournament is coming up here in August. And he's like, "Hey guys, I don't feel well. I'm gonna go to bed." And then they heard the news the next day. So it's actually pretty sudden and pretty tragic. So shout out to Bernie's family. May he rest in peace. He's going to be sorely missed, I know, by a lot of us. It feels like we're losing a lot of EVE players lately. So make sure you guys are staying safe out there, because having these conversations and having to do memorials while touching is not enjoyable. It's nice to have a celebration of life, but most of the time people don't want that to ever have to happen, right? But yeah, so rip to Bernie. I know that was so CCP doing their honor of paying respects to an ISD member and calling it out. And I don't know if they're doing anything in the game for him. I hope they do. some players were given the thought of like an ISD, what are they, the Polaris frigates, to kind of have one at Molia in honor of him instead of a can. And so I'm hoping CCP does that, because that would actually be kind of cool. But we'll have to see what they decide to do. I know it was pretty sudden, and it hasn't even been a week.
Yeah, I got to give them a little time to process it all, and I imagine the setup's a little more than just planting a ship.
I know, yeah, for sure. I know. Speaking of CCP and things that they're working on anyway. There's been rampant chat issues. So I don't know if anyone has been logging into the game lately, but if you have, you will notice chat client is definitely not working. So they released a forum post. Do you have that pulled up, Nick? The forum post about there's like intermittent chat complications or something.
I do not at this time, but let me I'll pull it. I'll find it.
Motion for you. But yeah, so there's I don't know what they said was causing the issues, but CCP has been spending all of their time trying to fix it, and of course this comes out like Thursday, Friday. So their solution is opt-in sort of chat. What is it, like an opt-in chat client feature? So you can opt into the quote-unquote old chat, and so they've been doing that in hopes that players will can use it over the weekend, because I don't know if they have all of the people available to work this weekend. So if you're using local as like an Intel client or to talk with your friends, just know it's probably not working. This has also extended to other things such as like corporation chat, alliance chat, Intel chat, fleet chat. And so it's become quite the cluster of trying to get things done in EVE Online. Like I can understand like, oh, EVE's not, or like chat's not working, or local's not working. We don't need it, right? Like Blackout was, but this is somehow dramatically worse than that.
And I think, because I've been on since Friday night, basically, and the folks I hang around with, a lot will chat in local. There's the usual suspects, but it's the non-local. You don't have local, heck, you might as well be in a wormhole. Not a big deal. Yeah. But it's the not being able to communicate with the rest of your fleet or corp mates. So a lot of us, trying to entice people onto more voice-related stuff just for those reasons.
Yeah, and so if you are in the game, if you press escape and go to, like, you have like the escape bar with all your settings and stuff, you go to feature previews, you should be able to enable it. You can tell this was kind of like a last-minute fix because it has like no label, UI, feature preview. Like you can tell they're just like, fuck it, this doesn't need to be fancy, we just need a fix right now. And so we've been kind of using that, like when we did our memorial room for Bernie, we used that feature because we were like, oh my gosh, there's so many people in this low sec system. There were not that many people in the low sec system. So that's why we've been doing it. You can make your own chat in game for friends. That's true, Key Orion, but none of those chats are working. Like in fleet chat, when you say, hey guys, X up if you have X, Y, or Z, you can't X up. You don't see who's Xing up. Or like if you're like, oh, like tell me your name so I can add you to watch list. They might not even be in your fleet chat while literally being in your fleet.
Yeah, I took a trip from Morrisier up to Dodixie and back, and the local chat never updated all the way there, all the way back, and then about 5 minutes after I was back unloading the cargo, each of the systems I'd passed through suddenly started loading and telling me, you're now entering this, you're now entering that. I thought it was kind of funny.
Yeah, and if it was just local, it'd be okay, but this is all chat. So be very careful because it's all of your chats. So you might have a friend who's like, hey, bro, let's hang out. And you're just like ignoring them because you don't even see their messages or that they're online. So that's what's kind of been happening. But yeah, so I'm hoping CCP is able to get a fix out Monday or Tuesday. So a lot of times they push stuff Tuesday, but this one's kind of urgent. So they might do it Monday.
This is kind of, well, obviously on topic, but I hadn't heard if they identified exactly what the issue was or where the disconnect came in, but obviously they're working on it.
Yeah, and I don't know that either. I don't know if they would share that with us. They probably could after it was all said and done, but I think while it's happening, I don't know if they want to do that.
All right, so how do folks get into the optional chat again?
So if you press escape and go to feature previews, I think you can see CCP actually was at Paragon. Yeah, so that picture. So when you press escape and click on feature preview tab, that's what it'll look like. And you just click enable and you don't have to restart or anything. It just works. And then it gives you, what it will do is it'll give you a separate chat box window only for local. And so with that local window is how you can see at least the number. You might be able to chat in it. It's kind of hit or miss. I had friends where like they had the backup or the fixed one and it was still kind of breaking on them. So it's the best they can do for now.
Yay. That's all part of, I think it's coordinated effort to get us not, onto voice, more voice and less chat.
Yeah, it's also been really funny because apparently some people aren't aware that this stuff is happening. So like they're out doing things, not paying attention, or maybe they are paying attention, but it's not showing accurate information, so they're dying. So I've heard there's been a lot of like really good feeds. So yeah, speaking of feeds, Nick, you're gonna have so much fun following all my pivots. So there was a Titan that died the other day. I don't know, Nick, if you want to pull up the kill mail.
Gosh, already up.
Yep, this was last Monday. So we had a Titan that died. And this was a bridging Titan. And so I believe the story was what had happened was there was a big fight going on with tons of tie-dye. And the Titan was bridging people either to or from the fight. And then the Titan, all of his modules just broke and he wasn't able to do anything. So when you bridge, you're not allowed to do tons of stuff in EVE, right? Like you can't jump, you can't dock. I don't even think you can doomsday. I think you're just kind of stuck with your bridge Titan or bridge module on until you turn it off. And so this poor dude was stuck. And I think what ended up happening was people realized it and took advantage and they just like bumped him off the keep star, probably thinking he was AFK or something. And this poor guy's like struggle busting to redock. And anyway, he ended up dying.
Yeah, I heard the same basic thing, that he was bridging people out of the system either post-fight or evac or whatever the case may be. But once he started the bridge, everything just stopped playing. And then he got bumped and slowly moving off tether.
Yeah. But yeah, the poor guy, like I would be really salty because this happened in a tie-dye system. He wasn't bridging to a tie-dye system. He was in the tie-dye system. And so it just sounded like he was struggle busing with every single issue you could ever have with your modules in tie-dye. And it was kind of, like, to me, it's kind of funny because like I feel like everyone will use this as a learning lesson for how to handle your Titan. There was a lot of talk of, okay, if your modules, like they'll turn red, but they won't turn off, right? Like you see it in games sometimes where they turn red right before they turn off, like when you click them. But with tie-dye, they weren't turning off. So some folks were saying, well, if you drag the module to a different slot, it will refresh it. And then other people were saying, if you want the bridge module to turn off, take out all your fuel. And like, because he was on a keep star, so he couldn't dock in the keep star, but he could have dumped the fuel in the keep star.
But the bridge module doesn't auto repeat. And the one I heard was open and close planetary interaction, because that'll force the whole screen UI to reset.
Yep, that's another one. The other, like last resort, this would have been really risky. What it could have been just closing your client and then opening it again. Because in theory, he wouldn't have a log off timer. But that's also, I don't know, it's still super risky in tie-dye. Because, I mean, for all we know, it would not have logged him out and he would have just sat there and then been unable to log back in.
Yeah, in chat, Rudolph was saying, hey, CCP needs to replace his Titan. I'm going to disagree with you, brother. We've seen so many Titans in battles and supers get lost because of, game-related issues. CCP ain't replacing none of that. So, hey, you roll the dice, you take your chances some days.
Yeah. I think if this had happened not in a tie-dye system, and he was like by himself and it was going on for an hour and he was struggling, and then some random like Sino ship found him, and then like they called in some dreads to gank him thinking he was AFK, I could see a replacement then. But this was in the middle of a battle. This was a strategic Titan. You kind of roll the dice with that. Like it sucks, but you have to account for server weather, and sometimes that server weather is you just lose your ship and all your stuff for no reason.
But I will backtrack a tad with Rudolph on that, where if it were my Titan, yeah, damn, replace it.
Only fair if it's yours, right? But yeah, I think as much as this sucks, I think this is a good lesson for everybody, including those like in Horde, right? And some of these, like, I don't want to say newer players because I'm assuming this guy flying a Titan is not a newer player. But people who are looking to get into these bigger ships, this is a good lesson that when you fly these ships and you fly in these tie-dye fights, to pay attention to what everyone else is doing and why they're doing it. I know when I joined PL, and even like Black Legion too, we'd be in these tie-dye fights, and all the veterans would talk about all the various, like, some of it was like placebo, like voodoo, superstition sort of thing, where they're like, yeah, man, if you click here and then like close your eyes and spin in your chair 3 times, like your ship will listen to you or whatever. Like something crazy like that. But if you listen, you'll understand why they used to do things like that, because there used to be old issues, and then they kind of carried them forward throughout time to figure out how to fix your ship when stuff is happening. Because I've had it to me. I've had my ship burn off 100, 150 kilometers while I was actively anchored on the FC. My ship just was like, nope, we're flying off into space. And I had to learn how to bring my ship back. I was lucky I didn't die, but like that's another instance that could have happened, right? Like you double click your Titan off and it just zooms off into space.
Yeah, Bluetooth tossed in chat that he believes that was the FC's Titan. If it were, obviously, that's not a noob. He knew what he was doing. It's just one of those bad days.
Yeah, for sure. It sucks, but it's a good learning lesson, not only for them, but hopefully for everybody else who was there.
Yeah, this does not just affect newer players. It's all of us.
Yeah.
All right, what are you going to skip to next to mess with me?
Okay, let me look. I'm trying to think of like a good segue.
Yeah, I wonder what that Titan costs. Have we seen an MER?
Yeah, we can look at the MER on the Battle of the North. Oh, CCP released the April MER. It feels like clockwork, almost earlier. I'm bad at numbers and pictures. It's just an excuse. I'm bad at numbers and pictures, so I'm not quite sure what I would expect or not expect. We will have a show that talks to people who are smarter than I am, and maybe even smarter than Nick, so that they can explain some of this to us. But the MER is out if you are a numbers person, a graphs person, and you want to go look at it. It feels like every time CCP is getting better and better at keeping it at least kind of updated or transparent, which I think is a good thing.
One of the things, two things on the MER for all of you MER nuts. When you look at the mining figures, you're going to see Delve's mining dropped below about 5 or 6 high-sec group mining areas. And if you look at it, the month prior to that, they were at the top of the list. That's called preparing for war and deploying. The month that they've been up at war in April, that's what this MER looks at. So you'll see that they have this big dip in their mining and ratting kind of things. And that's common through a number of the null areas that got heavily invested in this. So kind of keep in mind not just the numbers, but what ancillary stuff is happening around there. And one last thing on that, if you want a real, like I think it's like a 12-minute down and dirty of what it means, Ashtarothi has a really good YouTube on that particular segment of the MER and how you can track the war based off of it.
Oh, I didn't know that. And then that too, I know the only thing I remember people saying, actually, never mind. I think that change was too recent. So there was a change to Poshvin timers, and they reverted all the Poshvin timers. And I think some folks are saying you could see that reflected in the MER, or maybe it's too soon. That change was too soon to be on the MER. I'm not 100% sure. But that would have been the only thing I could think of related to the MER.
But there's a lot of, for you folks that love economic indicators, it's a great one. I'm not totally well versed in that. Definitely not enough to pontificate about it, because there's other folks to do that.
Yeah, for sure. There's talk in chat, Lone Gamer UK, Z Killboard values have been off for ages. So CCP is working on the ESI that Z Killboard uses. I believe that was supposed to be updated at some point, and then I thought it was. I'm trying to remember. They're not just fixing the old one, but something Zekiel has to do to then fix it and pull everything through. And then I think Squiz actually plans on going back in time and updating everything that kind of has been messed up. So hopefully CCP fixes ESI stuff soon. I know they're giving it more attention. I'm seeing chatter in the partner Discord with the dev partners, the third party dev partners.
Even with it fixed, I mean, think about it. Let's say they fix the feed tomorrow, and Squiz is ready to start backtracking. Don't anybody jump on Squiz, because think of the backlog and how much updating that is. We could lose Zekiel for 2-3 days.
Yeah. Oh, Bluetooth saying this Monday, the market history API was turned back on. Okay. So it should be soon. So don't worry. CCP has been bothered by these poor third-party devs forever. They've been begging for some update, begging for some ESI love, and I think it's finally coming through.
And begging for chat.
Yeah, and now we're all begging for chat. So CCP having endless work ahead of them. All right, that's the MER. I think Oz, so I know you said Ashtarothi. Oz should also have a show, because Oz usually goes through it quite in depth on his Twitch stream on Saturdays. We've had him on here before to talk about it.
I completely forgot about Oz. Sorry, man. Forgot about you completely there.
No, it's all good. He does a live stream and then I think puts it on YouTube, but that you just talking about other players talking about it reminded me. Some people try to talk about it and aren't as smart as like Oz and shit. So like, yeah, I think that would be like me talking about the MER and trying to advertise. It would not be good. Speaking of CCP, so good news that CCP is working on it. Instead of just us talking about all the stuff CCP breaks and is trying to fix, we could talk about their new sort of celebration for the 20th anniversary. They're encouraging the player base to create a t-shirt. I don't know if you might still have that tab, Nick, but it's design a t-shirt for the EVE Online 20th anniversary. And so I don't know if you guys saw in the past, I think for the 15th anniversary they did this, and it was actually quite popular. But if you design a t-shirt, you can get it, or if you design like not just a t-shirt, but like graphic to be put on a t-shirt, you could win. And they actually, I believe they give you like $200 in store credit if you get first place. You get credit on the shirt itself, and then you get Plex, obviously, and then the shirt actually goes into like the EVE store, so you could design something and then people could be wearing it and they could have your name on it. It actually sounds super cool. There's a bunch of rules and regulations, like you must be 18 or older to enter, no purchase necessary, like all the legal stuff they have to put on with these contests. But if this is something that interests you, I would highly recommend doing it. I think even still today, they have some of those player designs from the 15th anniversary still on t-shirts. So definitely check it out if you're more of the graphical type person. I am not that great with art, but or you could ask friends to give you some ideas and inspiration. Maybe you could do it. Some of them are really good. I quite like CCP doing this, because as good as some of CCP shirts are, I feel like they really miss the mark with getting some more of the creativity or like meme sort of stuff on their shirts. And it kind of makes me sad, because I feel like there's so much potential with the EVE store. They just need somebody to dedicate to it, so using from the player base is good.
And you've got till the competition ends 30th of May. So I posted the link in chat. If you're graphically or creatively oriented, grab that, have a look. If it's something you want to get in on, you still got a couple weeks to do just that.
Yeah, exactly. And like the rewards look actually really, really good. Like if I could have my name on a t-shirt that everyone would have to wear, first I'd pick a really memey name, and then I'd design a really cool t-shirt.
Okay. Yeah, prizes, yeah. Your shirt design sold at FanFest venue, all kinds of, yeah.
Yeah, it's super cool. You guys are giving out. There's lots of ideas in chat already. That's super fun. Excuse me. Okay. And so along with that, speaking of 20th anniversary, CCP is still doing a login campaign. So if you're kind of a slacker, you take weekends off or days during the week off, make sure you're doing the login rewards. You get skins and skill points and ships and free stuff The only thing you have to do to convince me is say free stuff, but it's actually pretty decent. Just all the logins and stuff. It's the only way you can get the Society of Conscious Thought ships, because those aren't actually obtainable in game. They're actually given away through CCP through events like this, or I would say even when they do like real life meetups, they'll give stuff away. So definitely go in and get those if you ever need them, like a Praxis or whatnot. Lone Gamer, if you have ideas, give them to your graphic friends and see if they'll credit you. Maybe they'll credit you or give you like some of the Plex or something. Or you could get scammed. Who knows? This is EVE Online.
I'm smart money's on the scam.
Yeah. I mean, who knows? It might be fun. Like I bet if you told someone like Rix or Manic Velocity, those are like the two people I think of when I think of who would win a t-shirt contest. I feel like they would do really well.
Oh, I love Lonza. And I've been drunk with Hilmar t-shirt.
Yeah. All right. So I think we got all the stories. We talked about next week we're going to talk faction warfare, so we're going to have some familiar faces on and then some new faces. Scam is such a hard term. Creating financing. I don't know, dude. Somebody's idea not crediting them feels super scammy.
Well, you get your name on the back of the shirt, so.
Yeah, that's true.
You were mentioning that next week you got some wormhole folk lined up, and I guess
faction warfare.
Oh, I'm sorry, faction. Sorry about that, worm people. Faction warfare folk. The Caldari Galente just a couple days ago evidently had a heck of a long-running hooking and jabbing match over a particular system, and that I'm having the battle report sent to me on that one because that looked really good.
That's awesome. Maybe we could talk about that one too. I think our guests are going to be from Minmatar Amar. So it's always interesting you say faction warfare, but you can't encompass all of it unless you get like all four sides involved. So this should be really interesting.
You hit a good point where when you say faction warfare, my first thought is Galente Caldari, because I'm like hardcore Galente fan. And whereas like Khan, he's Minmatar. So I know where his head's at, but I don't think that way naturally.
Yeah, it's really fun with some of this stuff. It just shows how much variety there is in EVE, where we could be talking the same thing but also different things. But yeah, that's all the news and the updates we've had this week. Just keep an eye out there if you're playing in New Eden. Chat is not working. None of the chats are working, not just local. And then also make sure you get those login rewards.
Oh, I found those chats do work. They're just incredibly delayed.
Oh, they are? Okay.
Mine will show up like 15 minutes later. It's hysterical.
Man, that I would be so mad. Be like, hey, I'm trying to talk to you, and someone's not responding to me because they just don't see my messages on time.
Yeah, I get texts on my cell phone to go, hey, get back on Discord. I need to talk to you.
Nice. Well, we won't keep you then, Nick. Also, happy Mother's Day to everyone out there, all the mothers, the people with like children who are now mothers or like grandmothers, etc., acting moms, real moms, stepmoms, etc. That includes everybody. So happy Mother's Day to everyone. Make sure you go out and tell whichever mother figure in your life happy Mother's Day. It will mean a lot to them. So, but yeah, we will let you all go. We will see you next week. Apologies for the delay in stream and the technical difficulties which you all helped us work through, but that's how it goes, right?
Absolutely. Thanks so much, Rahne. And remember, join Galmill.
Bye, everybody.